Welcome to Fantasia. Today, we are going to learn about why some people are happier than others. Now, let's begin. Why some people are happier than others? The answers and the response from the question of why given people seem to be happier than others, should form a central comprehensive part and aspect of psychology, as the reasons and factors behind happiness up to this moment remain a subject faced by a great disparity of ideas and views. From a construal theoretical model of happiness, the proponent argues that numerous aspects of the inspirational and cognitive processes that an individual assumes, to a great extent determine the level of objective development of happiness and well-being. From this theoretical model of the construction and assumption of happiness, it is evident that for one to get a comprehensive understanding of how and why some individuals seem or are really happier than others. Here it is important to comprehend the inspirational, motivational and cognitive practices that aid the development, maintenance and improvement of a lasting transient disposition and happiness. Based on this theoretical model, the proponent has greatly emphasized the role of psychological practices like conflict reduction, social relativism, self-consciousness, individual judgment and the personal view of circumstances and issues. From practical analysis of highly happy and desperately unhappy people, it has been evident that these different classes greatly differ structurally in the various areas of inspirational and cognitive strategies applied from within. Button, 2006. From a close analysis of these individuals that have established a point of serenity and satisfaction, their measure of happiness seems to revolve around a given amount of happiness. From a study carried out that emphasized on the tracking of individuals who had won in lotteries, it was clear that money is not the magic ticket to happiness. This still happened to be the case for persons who developed full disability, as within an average period of a year of being troubled or distressed about their disabled nature they fell back to their initial point of happiness. From further study it was confirmed that whatever the experiences befalling individuals positive or negative, they return to the specific happiness set point. However, the question that comes up from the set point notion of happiness is, what part of that happiness is natural born and how much of it is developed or achieved through nurture? After comprehensive extensive testing, it was clear that on average 50% of an individual's happiness set point is inborn, while the remaining 50% is learned through upbringing and nurturance. From this it is clear that the rationale behind why some people move around cheerful and jovial is that, they were naturally born being like that while the remaining part is established by their feelings, emotions, opinions, beliefs and the reaction they render to life experiences. However, from the recent studies it was stunningly evident that out of the remaining 50% of happiness that is acquired, only approximately 10% of the average happiness level is determined by conditions like the level of wealth, job and social status, and the marital status assumed by an individual. From the study it was evident that the remaining 40% of our average happiness level ground, is built upon and dictated by the routine thoughts and worldviews, feelings and emotions, words and talk one is exposed to, and lastly the actions and reactions that the individual assumes. This study therefore led to the establishment of a conclusion that it is possible for individuals to elevate the average happiness level possessed. From this conclusive fact it was evident that, one can either work consciously or unconsciously to reprogram their level of happiness average point, to both a higher or lower level of well-being, peace and serenity in life. Gilbert, 2008. From the establishment that the levels of happiness in individuals can be altered from conscious or unconscious effort has led to a change of the views of what had been previously believed almost wholly. From previous views to do with happiness, it was clear that an individual unendingly pursues happiness through getting the things they assume will make them happier like beauty, a good career, and wealth among others. However, contrary to these views it was definite that as an attempt to improve or increase the level of happiness, one only has to alter their happiness average point. As a justification for this view, it was conclusive from recent research that authentic happiness comes from nothing that can be defined in definite terms like wealth, education and relationships. Schlock, 2006. The proponent further argued that conflicts act as determinants or dictating factors as to whether psychological quality or deficiency is developed. Based on this theoretical model it is clear that the psychological development of an individual which contributes up to 50% of happiness, develops across the lifespan of an individual and forms a distinctive determinant of the level of happiness that the individual can achieve. From the discussion of happiness it is clear that the qualities of superiority, sense of self, intimacy, trust and autonomy among others determine to a great extent the level of happiness that an individual can attain. From real-life experiences and studies, it is clear that qualities of autonomy and trust in others determine the extent to which an individual is able to gain support from others and from within themselves. These aspects greatly determine the levels of satisfaction and contentment which amount to individual happiness. The other basis for psychological development is assimilation, where new knowledge, ideas or information is brought into previously possessed schemas. Accommodation as another basis of psychological development is the process of replacing held ideas with new ones. The other basis of psychological development is equilibration, where an individual arrives at a balance between previous knowledge and new knowledge. From this psychological development, it is clear that happiness is constructed based on striking a balance between accepting new information, previous information, and managing to create a balance between the two. Having discussed the research findings, studies and statistics from varied reliable sources, it is clear and evident that the different levels of happiness depicted by different individuals are determined by a number of factors. One of the factors that determine the level of happiness is the level of motivational, cognitive and inspirational influence developed by an individual. From the study, it was also clear that a bigger part of happiness levels seen in individuals is dependent on genetic factors, a lesser proportion depending on the daily life situations and encountering measures one takes to. The other aspect that is of importance in determining happiness levels is the sense of self in a person and the different perceptions dictated by varied experiences. Thank you for watching Fantasia, and be sure to subscribe, because more incredible content is on the way.